Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another video. Grab a cup of tea, grab a snack. This is going to be a long, chatty update. Rachel's reading rambles. Let's just get into it. I just want to sit down today and just kind of like ramble at you and kind of get some thoughts and just kind of like feelings and stuff out into the universe. So that's what we're going to do. We are halfway through the month of July, so the first thing I wanted to mention is like my July TBR is like completely out the window. Like it's kind of a little bit icky. If you've been watching my weekly reading vlogs, although you'll see this one before the next one comes out on Tuesday, and I've kind of really hit a slump or a lull this week, not because I'm not reading anything, it's because I'm reading a book that I am loving so much that all I want to do is read this book, but because I'm annotating it and really absorbing myself into it, it's taking me ages to read. And that is the fact that I finally got around to reading Matthew Perry's memoir, and this is only the second book ever that I've properly annotated, highlighted, and kind of done all these fun annotations with, and I don't know, just absolutely loved my time reading. Let me find like a good, this is like a good pink page. This page was all about friends. So I had like happy tears and I was squealing, and oh my god, I've just absolutely loved my time reading this, although it's absolutely devastating and heart-wrenching, and I've cried multiple times, or almost cried multiple times reading this because of Matthew Perry's story and what he's gone through, and it is just really, really difficult to read because of his drug and alcohol addiction and just kind of like what he's gone through. But I'm absolutely loving it and loving kind of the little glimpses I get of kind of the friends and the backstories and kind of like the backstage fun shenanigans that they had as a little 6-person gang, and it's just really lovely to read like the highs as well as kind of really kind of heart-wrenching lows. So that's what I've been currently reading, and obviously not on my July TBR whatsoever. The only book I've actually read off my July TBR is The No-Show by Beth O'Leary, and that was kind of a little bit of a disappointment for me because I just didn't, I thought in my recent 5-star predictions, I thought that was going to be a 5 stars. And it just wasn't. It was a 3 for me. It was a good read, but nothing special. I'll most likely be unhauling it. And I don't actually think Beth O'Leary is for me, which is fine, but I've always expected more from her books and always felt disappointed after reading them. So I think I'm just going to like step away from Beth O'Leary for a little while. I just don't think she's the author for me. But the author that I really, really was disappointed with was The Legendary Girlfriend by Mike Gale. This was also on my July TBR, which I have DNF'd. This book is Mike Gale's debut book, and I just wasn't vibing with it. And I just don't think that there's any point reading a book that I'm not vibing with, even if it's from my favourite author, because then I'll get like a tainted view on this author, and I don't want that to be the case because I know that he has written so many other books that I'm sure I'll fall in love with. This one just wasn't for me because it was written in 1998, so I just don't think kind of being the reader I am and have evolved, and I only became a reader when I was like 16. So this book I just was written not for me personally because I'm a younger reader, and I just don't think, I just didn't vibe with it, and it was really sad to DNF it, but I did. So in terms of my July TBR, though I've only read and completed one book from it, which was The No-Show, I've read a very, very surprise book that I wasn't expecting to read but loved and gave a 5-star, which was Love and Other Scams by PJ Ellis. And then obviously I've DNF'd the other books I tried to read from my July TBR. This Matthew Perry book was not on my July TBR, but I kind of did a little bit of a prompt-to-prompt situation in my reading vlog that you'll see this Tuesday, which pulled out Matthew Perry's book, and I'm so glad it did because although I've only been reading like 30 pages of it a day and I'm only 150 pages into it and it's Saturday, I've just absolutely been loving my time reading it, and this week has just been a slower reading pace for me, which is fine. But in terms of the books left on my July TBR, I started Daisy Jones and the Six, and I know that I'm going to really, really enjoy this book, but I just don't think I'm giving it the time and day. So I want to read this, but I think I'm going to like soft DNF it for now. I am enjoying it. I'm loving the writing style once again. I'm really intrigued by the premise and kind of how it's written and the characters. But because I'm so obsessed with Matthew Perry's memoir, I'm just not giving this book the time of day. So I will come back to this one, hopefully in July, but it is already halfway through the month, which is why I wanted to sit down and kind of talk through the rest of the month's plans with you, because I just don't think I'm going to get to it this month, but we'll see. But it's definitely not a book that I'm going to completely DNF. It's like a soft DNF. I'll come back to it. It's a me, not the book situation with that one. And the 3 that were on my TBR that I haven't managed to read or even touch yet is The Henna Wars, Best Men, and Mistakes Were Made. I will still keep these on my TBR for now, but none of them are really kind of drawing my interest, which is why I did like a prompt-to-prompt mini thing in this week's reading vlog that you'll see, because I just wasn't really vibing with any of the books on my physical TBR. And luckily I pulled out a prompt that I loved and I was able to read Matthew Perry's book. Otherwise I just don't think I would have read anything this week, because none of these books are kind of drawing my attention. So long of story short of it is that I'm kind of scrapping my July TBR. If I read books from it, great, but I'm just going to kind of see what I feel like after reading Matthew Perry's memoir, because I don't want to rush through this, so I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it this weekend. I definitely won't be able to finish it this weekend. Today is a complete prep day because we have my entire side and my mum's side of the family coming over tomorrow for housewarming, as well as Mark's mum. So yesterday we took the day off work and cleaned the house entirely, and then today we're like cooking and prepping all the food because we're kind of having like a barbecue without a barbecue. So it's been a really hectic couple of days. I haven't really had the time to read, so I definitely won't be finishing this by tomorrow, so I'll be pulling it into next week. Next week I'm on annual leave, so I'm going to visit my grandma up in Wales, which I'm really, really excited for. It should be really, really nice and relaxing and just kind of like a nice little, kind of like a social media break. I always feel when I go down to her house, I just feel like completely clear and free of responsibilities. So although I'm taking some books and I'm hoping to read a bit, I'll be weekly vlogging because it is my goal up until the end of the year now to weekly vlog for the rest of the year, which is a crazy concept, but I really want to try and do it. So I will be weekly vlogging, so you'll see what I read in that vlog. But I'm not going to take too many books away because we have some plans, and I also don't want to kind of like be antisocial. It's important to spend time with my grandma, and I want to spend time with her, and obviously Mark is coming along as well, so it's going to be like our little mini break for the year. So I want to take books, I want to read, but it's not kind of like my main priority next week. So I think July is just kind of like being scrapped in terms of reading, but I am on annual leave, so I should get more reading done than this week, but we'll see. I'll probably be taking, in terms of books I'll take away with me over my little like holiday as per se, is obviously Matthew Perry, just to try and finish it. And then I'm actually buddy reading a book for a book club with Lily from Literary Lily. We are reading, it's on my iBooks account because I brought it on my iBooks account. Sensible, because it was only cheap on there, and that is Everybody in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. I heard nothing about it until Lily actually mentioned it was part of the book club, so then I was like, okay, that actually sounds quite interesting. And then I was watching one of Books and Lala's videos, and she's rated it 5 stars this year, so I'm really, really intrigued to read it. It is kind of like a mystery thriller, if you couldn't guess by the title. I don't know much more than that, so I want to kind of go into it not knowing much, but that is a book that me and Lily are reading, buddy reading next week, I think for the entirety of next week, while I'm on kind of annual leave. So I think it might be quite a good book to just kind of like pick up here and there, because the book club that we're going to is the following week. So that should be really, really fun. So that is a book that I definitely need to read next week during my annual leave. I want to finish Matthew Perry's book, so I'll be taking that away with me. And then I think I just want to take like a fun, light and fluffy book. I don't know what that will be yet, whether it will be a book from my TBR, maybe like a YA is what I need, which would be the Henna Wars, or whether I need to read something with an audiobook to kind of help me along, which then it will be Best Men, because Best Men is also an audiobook on Scribd. So I think those two are like my potentially more likely to be taken away with me. Maybe I'll take both of them, but I definitely will not be finishing 4 books. It'll be lucky if I can finish Matthew Perry and then the book club book, Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. So those are like the 2 main priorities next week, kind of a spoiler for the weekly reading vlog, but I'm just wanted to sit down and ramble to you, so that's the topic we ended up on. So that's kind of how I'm feeling with reading at the minute. I'm enjoying the book that I'm reading, but I just don't know if I want to go with the flow and kind of just scrap my entire July TBR and just kind of mood read for the rest of the month, because it is going to be chaotic rest of the month just because I'm on annual leave, and then I've only got a week left after I come back from annual leave in July, so I just don't think July is going to be my best reading month, which is absolutely fine. But I do think in August I'm going to do prompt to prompt again, because I am doing a weekly reading vlog, so it kind of fits along with that. And then also because I feel like I'm more in a mood at the minute, prompt to prompt works really, really well. So I think in July I'm not going to create a TBR, and I am going to do prompt to prompt again. So if you love that series, then it should be coming back in August, which is really exciting. I'm kind of doing it already, but I'm going to like fully do it in August. So we'll see how the rest of July goes. Let me know how you're doing in July. Is it just kind of like a thing that's happening, like everyone's kind of in a bit of like a reading slump situation, or is it just me? Let me know in the comments what you're currently reading. Are you enjoying it? And kind of how your July reading is going, because I'm very interested to see if I'm the only one who's suffering with this like weird reading slump. But I'm not in a reading slump because I'm reading and I'm loving a book that I'm reading, but I just don't feel inclined to read any other of the books on my TBR, which is the difficult part of this situation. The next kind of topic I wanted to chat about, which will be like the last topic because I just wanted it to be like more like a mid-year check-in, is I am going to go through some stats, and then I'm going to sit down with you and go through the goals that I set at the beginning of the year and kind of how I want to change them for the latter half of the year, so the second half. So in terms of stats, I did a reel that I absolutely loved, and I thought I wasn't going to do a video. There's definitely not enough to do a solo video on the stats so far this year, but there's definitely enough to do a little segment within Rachel's reading rambles, which is what I'm gonna do. So from the end of June, not counting the books I've read in July, which isn't many as we've just discussed, I've read a total of 38 books so far in the year of 2023, which is on track for my goal of 50 books, which I always set on Goodreads. I always do 50 books, kind of like a nice round number. If I read more, great. If I read less, kind of disappointing, but not the end of the world. But I am currently ahead of schedule, being on 38 books, 50 for the end of the year. I only need another 12, which is roughly another 2 months of reading for me, because I kind of tend to read about 5 to 6 books a month. So I'll definitely surpass that. I don't want to up it because I'm kind of going into a slump, I think. I don't know. So I don't want to up it and kind of push myself more. I'm just going to stick it at 50, and that's absolutely fine. But I've read 38 books so far this year. My best reading month was, going back to prompt, was April. I read the most books in April, of a total of 9 books, and that was the month I did prompt for the first time. So hopefully August will be the same sort of experience and the same results, and it'll be one of my best reading months. Maybe prompt is just the way I like to read. Who knows? Maybe by doing it again in August, I'll have more results to kind of delve into and kind of see if it really is a way forward with my reading. But I loved doing it, and obviously it showed because April was my best reading month so far. Across those 38 books, that is 13,709 pages, which sounds pretty impressive. I know some people read that in like 2 months, 3 months, but that's pretty impressive for me. I've read 58.5% physical books, 26.8 audiobooks, 4.9 ebooks. I've definitely realised this year I don't like reading ebooks at all. And then a mixed media, so that's when I had the physical book on my TBR and the audiobook on Scribd. I'll read them simultaneously, and that massively happened in April, so that's definitely kind of a way that I'm enjoying reading, but I just can't do it as often because I don't have an Audible subscription. I don't like paying for audiobooks, so having the monthly kind of Scribd really helps, but obviously it has a limited array of book titles. But I have managed to read 9.8% of my books via mixed media so far this year. I'm getting all these stats because I did Core Pile this year, so a whole spreadsheet created by G from the Book Roast, that kind of collates all the books that you've read and kind of creates little nice bar graphs and pie charts and stuff. So that's where I'm getting all my stats from. Age category wise, I've read a total of 70.7% adult books this year. And only 4.9% middle grade. I think I've only read like 2 or 3 middle grades, and 24.4% YA. Most of the books I've read so far this year were first times for me. I read 87.8% books for the first time this year, and I've only read 12.2% rereads. I had that massive kind of reread season in May. Didn't love it. I do love rereading books, but I think now, because I've realised I love annotating so much, I'm only going to reread books that I plan on annotating and kind of like keeping in my forever collection. In terms of star rating, it's pretty evenly split between 3 and 4 stars. So I've rated 35.9% 3 stars, 35.9% 4 stars, 23.1% 5 stars, but that kind of does filter into my rereads. So in terms of like new 5 stars, I haven't actually had that many. And then only 5.1% 2 star, and if I ever feel like this book is going to be one star, I end up DNFing it. So no 1 stars for me so far this year. I finished one series, which is the Cursed, Dark and Lonely series by Bridget Kemmerer. I finished that, but most books I've been reading are standalones at 85.4% standalone books. So those are a little bit of the stats I wanted to go through. Now let's move on to looking over my goals for 2023, whether I've kind of stuck with them and kind of what I want to achieve by the end of the year. These are all going to be YouTube and bookish related. I'm not going to go into personal goals whatsoever. Sorry about the lighting, but this is the best that we're going to do. I'm just loading up my computer, so while it loads and sorts itself out, I'll quickly basically say and be a pre-warning. I didn't actually set any reading goals for the beginning of the year, bar my Goodreads goal of reading 50 books, because the beginning of the year for me was not my usual like yearly routine where on the 1st of January I'll spin, get my life sorted, set my goals, kind of clear out my brain. The 1st of January this year, I was walking down Main Street USA in Disney World. So a very different start to the year, and therefore kind of the new year things I like to do, like setting goals, kind of reorganizing my space, resetting for the year, didn't really happen. And then by the time I got back, it was just kind of like go, go, go with a new house, getting that one sorted, and just kind of like I never had the time to sit down and properly reset for the entire year. So I only set a small amount of goals, and they were mostly personal and kind of lifestyle, health and fitness related, which I'm not going to go into. So I didn't really set any reading goals or YouTube goals. However, as the years progressed, I did have some in mind that I wanted to do. So those are the ones I'll go through in today's video, and then kind of reflect on whether they were worth it, whether I'm still aligned with them, and kind of what the goals I want to do by the end of this year. So this is my Notion kind of hub, my main page, and I'm not doing a Notion tour, but I have finally found a way in Notion that works best for me. So let's just go straight into my 2023 goals. I did start the year off doing it really complex and kind of setting quarterly goals, but I just don't think that's for me. I just kind of like checking in every couple of months and just kind of seeing how I go. In June, kind of the beginning of the mid-year kind of season, I reformatted my 2023 goals page, and I ended up just doing what you see in front of you now, which is categories, and just kind of splitting them up into different sections in my life and going from there, because that's kind of the way I feel like goals work for me. I do remember my goals mostly, but as long as I'm happy and healthy, if I don't complete goals, I don't complete goals. Like, I don't live vicariously through setting goals. I just kind of like having a little bit of direction at the beginning of each year. So let's go to my YouTube ones first. Numbered goals are always really hard to track. Like, you can't track them. YouTube just does what it wants to do. The algorithm changes, people unsubscribe, people subscribe. You can have a really good month of uploads and then a couple of months of not so good uploads in terms of like traction. So it really just depends, and having number goals isn't the best. And I always say that to myself, but I always end up setting goals anyway. It was 3,000 subscribers. I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. If I make it, great, amazing, like, oh my god, incredible. But if I don't, I don't. I feel like slowly throughout this year I've realised how unimportant numbers are, and if I just create content that I enjoy and I like and I can look back on and have happy memories, then that's all I kind of want out of this channel these days. I definitely think I started this channel because I wanted a place to talk about books in lockdown, and that is definitely what I managed to do, and I created a little community and I made friends via it. And then I feel like, oh my god, I love this. I want it to be something bigger. I want this to be something that I can pursue later in life and become like a YouTube family channel and lifestyle and just like the general. And then I realised, because I created my audience around books, it's basically like starting your channel from scratch if you want to change content. And because I was in a reading slump all of last year, I found that really, really difficult to comprehend. Having my reading mojo back has definitely helped in kind of just focusing back on booktube content and not having to worry about the lifestyle so much, because I am reading and I have enough content regarding the books I read to create videos weekly. But ramble over, I don't care about numbers anymore, or I'm definitely trying to get into the mindset of not caring about numbers anymore. So 3,000 subscribers, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Host Magical Hopathon round 3 has definitely been a goal of mine ever since I hosted my second round, and I didn't know how I want to incorporate it because I like having themes. So if you don't know, I host a readathon called Magical Hopathon Readathon that is all inspired by the Disney resorts around the world and kind of hosting them whilst they're celebrating something magical. So the first round I did it in celebration of Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. The second round I did it to celebrate Disneyland Paris's 30th anniversary. And I wanted to host round 3 because I had so much fun hosting this readathon, but I didn't think anything was coming up within the Disney company that I could celebrate. And then it clicked. Disney is celebrating their 100th in terms of like the entire company. So I was like, oh my god, I have to do round 3. So that became a goal of mine to host round 3 this year, because Disney is celebrating 100 years all of this year. So I've managed to figure out the logistics. I've designed it all, like it's all wearing and ready to go. I just need to announce it, and I'll be announcing it in September because the readathon will be happening in October again, which is when I hosted the first round. The next YouTube goal is consistent live reading sprints. This is a very new goal. I only created it when I rejigged my entire goals spread, and I just miss reading sprints. I think it's a great way to connect with my friends and people that watch my channel, and I think it's a great way to just kind of like be in the moment. It is harder to do live reading sprints these days because I have a house and I have to keep on top of the housework. I have to cook my own dinner, and sometimes the timings just don't work out, having to commute to work. I live further out from my office as well since moving, so it's a bit of a logistical juggling act to figure out when I can do consistent live reading sprints. But I'm definitely hoping to get to a point soon where I'm doing them at least bi-monthly, so like twice a month would be amazing. Even if it's just once a month, I would just like to have like a consistent day, consistent time, and just kind of like go from there. Weekly vlogging from July until December, which I've already mentioned. This is 100% inspired by Chloe. I think she's doing an incredible job just constantly weekly vlogging, and I'm already 3 weeks in and like I think my life is so boring. So I do want to try and complete this, but we'll see. Yeah, hopefully the prompt in August will massively help me kind of like invigorate myself with weekly reading vlogs. And this one I always want to do, but I just never do it. I'm so used to filming long form content, is to film more short form content like reels, and yes, be more consistent on Instagram, but just to film monthly recaps and just film consistently throughout the month on my phone in portrait, so at the end of the month I can do like a little montage and recap of all the memories and things I've got up to in the month. I tried doing it in July, but I've kind of already lost the bandwagon, so hopefully maybe this video will re-motivate me to get back on that, because I do have an exciting weekend, so we'll see. So those are all kind of like my YouTube goals, not many. Definitely one that I can complete because it's already in the works, and that's the Host Magical Hopathon round 3. And then the other ones I hope I can complete some way. It's hard to track them, but I'm hoping that by the end of the year I can sit down and tick these ones off. Fingers crossed. In terms of reading, these were all created in June because I didn't have any reading goals at the beginning of the year, because I, like I said, was in Disney, I was getting out of my reading slump, and I hadn't found my new reading routine being in a new space. Luckily, and I definitely focused a lot on the first half of the year in getting my morning and nighttime routine down, back to how I was before moving out. So I definitely focused on that, and reading, then I've managed to fit back into it, which I'm really, really glad I have, and I've now found a consistent reading routine, which allowed me then to think of some reading goals that I wanted to do. Obviously, the usual one, Goodreads, is to read 50 books, so hopefully that will be done by the end of the year. I'm on track, so fingers crossed. And then the next one is, because I will quickly show you, but I keep track of all the books I've received or brought in each year. So I want to have read at least 50% of the books I've brought in 2023. So if you go to my reading tracker, this July calendar is completely out the window, just to let you know. But these are all the books I've brought so far in the year, from January all the way up to my most recent book received for a birthday gift from Chloe, 7 days in June. So I've managed to accumulate, by buying and receiving gifts from my beautiful friends, 30 books so far this year. I have read out of those 40% of them, which is so good. Like, I'm really, really happy with myself. There's definitely some that I still want to get to by the end of the year. Mainly ones that I brought in my most recent Come Book Shopping With Me, which is like Yellowface, Yours Truly, Museum of Ordinary People, 7 X's, Best Men, Black Cake. There's so many that I still want to get to that I have brought this year, so I'm hoping that the 50% of books that I've brought in this year will hopefully be read this year as well. So that's a major goal that I want to try and keep on top of. Going back to my goals page, the last reading goal I have is to get my physical TBR back down to under 30 books and keep it at that. So I was almost at that number before I went book shopping for my birthday, and then I brought a hell of a lot of books, and some kind friends gifted me some books as well. So I'm back over, I want to say, like over 40 books on my physical TBR. I think like 42 maybe? Yeah, 42. Go me. So I have 42 books on my physical TBR. So without buying any more, I just need to read 6 books a month for the next 2 months to get it under 30 books and keep it at that. But I'm going book shopping again with Emily at the end of next week, so I might be buying a few more books. I'll try to really restrain and only buy books that either I've already read or that I really, really want to read, but I do want to try and keep my physical TBR back under 30 because it's getting a bit chaotic and it's stressing me out, I'm not gonna lie. I know some people can have like hundreds of books on their TBR, but that's just not me. So hopefully we can get going with that goal as well and just try and read more from my physical TBR rather than constantly buying books. And I haven't brought that many books so far this year. My worst book buying year was definitely 2020 and 2021, just because I was new to booktube and I just got overwhelmed with the amount of books I wanted to read. But the last couple of years I have definitely kind of reduced my expenditure in books, and which I'm happy about, and I've managed to keep my physical TBR down because of it. And I want to keep it down, and I want to work on just lowering it a little bit more. So those are all my YouTube and reading goals for the latter half of 2023. I've definitely added to them over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, like I said, at the beginning of the year, I didn't really have any goals. So in terms of the goals I had at the beginning of the year, I had 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. That was a beginning of the year goal. And to read 50 books, that was a beginning of the year goal. And film monthly recaps on Reels, which was a beginning of the year goal. The monthly recaps on Reels hasn't happened at all, and we're halfway through the year. I don't know if that's not actually going to happen. 3,000 subscribers is completely out of my control, but reading 50 books is, and I'm on track, and I'm surpassed that as well. So we should be all good, you would hope, by the end of the year that I would have completed all these goals, because there aren't that many, but who knows what the rest of the year has in store for me. So that is everything I wanted to discuss in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, just kind of going through some stats so far this year, going through my goals and kind of just talking you through my thought processes and how I'm getting along with them, and also kind of just like how chaotic July is in terms of reading. Yeah, I will leave you to it because I feel like I've rambled enough. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a massive thumbs up and subscribe down below to see future content from me. I do anything from monthly TBRs, monthly wrap-ups, weekly reading vlogs, and any other bookish content that you can think of. I usually have it here on this channel, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. Without further ado, I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.